Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome back to Dream Chasers Adventures in the Future. We have an interview for you here today, shifting gears from the solo cast format for episode 275, a little bit of a statement episode, when you go 25 episodes at a time. And we have a repeat guest. I don't even remember what episodes you've been on in the past, Paul, but at least two, maybe three, maybe four. We've got Paul Carswell, my brother, in the building today for Dream Chasers. He also goes by Pally amongst friends and family, so I might call him Pally or another nickname here throughout the interview, just a heads up. But Pally, what's up, man? What's going on in beautiful, sunshiny Charleston, South Carolina?
Well, beautiful, sunshiny Charleston, South Carolina. It looks more like gray and cloudy Cleveland right now, but for the most part, we usually have sunshine. Not much going on, just wrapping up my day, and we're on the outside of what's my busy season with work. So we just exited that a little over a week ago. So life is good.
Yep. And the reference to Cleveland there, that's for those of you who don't know, that's our hometown. So hopefully you get
And it's often very overcast. So yeah.
We are recording in December though, and I'm sure it's warmer where you're at than Cleveland.
Yeah, definitely. We're deciding on whether we wanted to turn the heat on the other day or not. And it finally dipped underneath like 62 for us. We're like, nah, like in the house. And so we're like, all right, we'll turn it on.
Nice. Well, by the time this interview goes out, Nikki and I will also be in Tampa, Florida. So like an hour flight from you. Do you know how long is that drive from Charleston to
It's
Tampa?
about 7 hours.
Oh, is it? Okay.
7 hours from Charles. 6.5, 7 hours. Depends on when you leave.
Good.
But I mean, you take 95 down through Jacksonville, and then there's an interstate that cuts across Florida. I think it's Interstate 4. And then it takes you across from Jacksonville to Orlando to Tampa really pretty quickly in the state of Florida, but it takes about 4 hours to get to Jacksonville, and then like 2.5, 3 hours from Jacksonville to Tampa.
Well, looking forward to it, and especially since Micah will be close to his aunt and uncle, and one day his cousins, or at least one cousin.
cousin Cusco right now. The
Yeah,
dog.
the dogs. Well, yeah, Luca is gonna have.
There's nothing in the works for anyone listening. We are at this. We're recording in this middle of December, and there is absolutely nothing in the works currently for Emily and I. So
You
just
heard
so
it here.
there's no.
Heard
You
it
heard it
here
here
first.
first. Hot take.
December 2022 to my future nephew, niece, or both. You heard it here first. There was nothing in the works at this point.
I guess you're speaking from experience, right?
we're well, we're adventures in the future, so we always got to be thinking about the future.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul and I have always been close throughout our lives. We obviously both grew up in Cleveland, Ohio together. We went to Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, which is the alma mater of our father. Both played hoops there. Both played college hoops at Westminster College. And then even after Westminster, both started our professional careers with Sherwin-Williams, the paint company. Learned a lot of valuable skills. I think we could both agree at Sherwin-Williams as far as just being a good businessman, business person, and then transferring those skills into the world of entrepreneurship. I kind of veered my way in the direction of real estate. Paul took a stance in the insurance industry. Anyone that I've ever met who's an entrepreneur in real estate, insurance, tech, whatever, you name it. Like, I feel like those three more than any other that I can think of. I guess you could maybe lean into Wall Street a little bit. Those always seem to be the entrepreneurial ventures that if you stick with it long enough, it is going to pay off. And so studying Paul's entrepreneurial journey, I've started to notice that he's breaking through that first few years of trial and error and challenges, and now stepping into a world where he's got a lot of referrals, repeat clients, repeat business, and where every entrepreneur wants to be, roughly speaking. And I'm sure he's got plenty of plans and things in store here. But Paul, just want to talk about where your business is at right now, what you and your business partners are excited about, and then figure out a way to send you new clients, and then we'll talk about some of the fun stuff after that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, as we're getting onto this call, I was just thinking that it's been over 4 years now from starting this venture and staying on that path. That's for me in my professional career. It's a long time. So that's just kind of cool. Honestly, you think of the amount of things that you've stayed consistent on for that amount of time. It's only a handful of things that I can mention. There's, obviously school. I mean, that's almost a given. You got basketball is another two thing that's kind of like been a life event or a life commitment that we've made. Um, and then the other ones would be marriage or our current relationships with both of us are married. Adam with a kid. I've been married for 2.5 years and developing that relate. I mean, Emily and I have been together for about 3.5 years. And then now, Medicare has been the next longest thing that I can say that I've committed to and serving the public. So yeah, it's just really cool when you kind of look at it that way. I guess you could say Rotary Club's in there too, but that commitment's a little bit not as demanding of me. But yeah, so almost 4.5 years. It was August of 18 is when I started, so a little under 4.5 years. And like Adam said, like you said, yeah, it was the first. I just will never forget. I don't want to ever forget what it was to start those first 2 years, what it was like to not have a residual income already, like a base in a sense, because I was working full commission, as a lot of you entrepreneurs know out there. And then I'll never forget that first renewal check. That felt amazing. And then even now, to the degree where it's like I'm not having to check my bank account regularly to see what's in there, unless there's a big purchase made. And really can just it's nice when you can take yourself away from the dollar, because you can really end up serving people and doing your job extremely well. So um lately, I will add, lately the dollar has been a little tighter because, as Adam knows, and for any listeners that have heard me talk about it, in the past, I don't know, say 6 months, I've hired an assistant, a virtual assistant, and that's been a wonderful experience. And it's taken my efforts to the next level on a consistency of scheduling and getting more volume and activity. Really, activity is just way up as a result. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I know the company that I believe I know the company that you're working with here, and for the sake of keeping things professional, I don't know if I want to name drop them just because we didn't get their
There's no
approval,
sponsorship. There's no need to. Yeah, a
but
virtual assistant company has done a very good job.
I was gonna say I think if they want to get connected with the virtual assistant company that you're using, they can reach out to you and you can facilitate
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, you can
Right.
reach out to me.
Yeah.
You can reach
Okay.
out to me if you have any questions about a virtual assistant and ways that you can use it. I'll definitely be willing
How
to
was that
send you the
actually? Tell me
referral
about that
partner link.
experience, because my biggest thing that I've observed also working with entrepreneurs is that first hire, especially virtual assistant, it's always like we're going to hire them, but we have no idea what they're going to do. And the key is
Yeah,
you make the hire, and then once you make the hire, everything else kind of, not always, but normally everything else falls into place after you make that commitment of, okay, we're going to make this hire. So for you guys, is that what happened? Did you bring them on board and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we can have her or him start doing all these things?
yeah. So I think this applies to all relationships. So take what I'm saying here and apply it to your personal relationships, your business relationships, your business exchanges and transactions. It's all about setting expectations. And so when we were going through the interview process for finding a virtual assistant, there was probably about a 2 to 2.5 month pre work up to hiring that person, saying, "Oh man, we don't really even have a process nailed down outside of my skill set. I know what to do, but can I teach someone what to do based on how I've been working right now?" And so that was about a 2 month process, a handful of meetings to get there. And even then, once hiring the assistant, making it very clear to myself and to the assistant, being like, look, this is all fresh. In theory, this is like theoretically what we do. And this is how we want to try and apply what you bring to the table, and execute. Come to find out that a lot of the stuff that we had done prior to hiring that virtual assistant has not gone as smoothly, in the sense of like we haven't followed our theory of, say, sales or information processing like we had assumed it would go, and have really developed some consistencies now that the assistant's been able to help us. And I would say the biggest thing, like I mentioned for me earlier, is I didn't realize the volume that I would be able to handle as a result of bringing on an assistant. My volume has probably volume, just meaning like not necessarily transactions being I get a signature on a piece of paper, but The amount of networking that I can do. So whether it be one-on-one calls with people, scheduling people through a calendar. But to stay on topic with what I was saying, manage your own expectations and then set the expectation for the person that you're working with. So we were transparent with our assistant, say, hey, we have a thought, we have a process that we would like to adhere to. We're going to try and plug you in there, and then we really need your feedback in order to help carve this thing out to make it work well. So it was the expectations were set early that we don't really know what we're doing, and I'm okay to admit that because you're going to help us build it. And what that did for the assistant, they're on an hourly rate, but it gave her the sense of having somewhat of an entrepreneurial approach to it, and the freedom then to act independently and then bring me in on good ideas. Because then what that makes me is more of a C-suite person, where she says, "Hey, I really want to go this direction. This is why XYZ," and I just look at her and go, "Sweet, good job, keep it up." And then we basically I end up being the approval guy, and that eventually takes you higher up in the business so you can keep working and seeing everything from a 10,000-foot level. And this is just the beginning of that.
Yeah, and so what that's awesome. I think what grabs my attention the most is still just you guys realizing that, and bring us up to speed here. I think you have one or two business partners, right?
So Medicare portal is the administrative home, I call it. So they're in a sense they're like our FMO, field marketing organization,
Uh-huh.
or the way that we affiliate as Medicare portal, Medicare insurance brokerage.
Like a
There's like
realtor
12
would,
to 15 of us.
be with Remax type of thing.
Correct, exactly. So there's like 12 to 15 of us, and there are a couple that I work more closely with. There's one specifically that I share this virtual assistant, so that way we could take them full time, have an hourly rate come down because we are employing full time, and then also being able to capitalize on all of their time, so they don't have to split with another individual somewhere else in the country.
So what I like was basically after getting it, her, is it a her?
Her, yeah, her name's Mia. So
after,
after having Mia for 20 hours a week on part time, we were splitting 4 hours for my business partner, and basically that went in with the virtual assistant with me. 4 hours for him, 4 hours for me, 4 hours for him, 4 hours for me, up to 20 hours for the week. We have now decided that we're going to each take on 20 hours, so that way we now have a full time employee in the 40 hours and split it right down the middle. So that's been beneficial, and I think when the volume and the dollar amount becomes right for what I need, we just needed to get started. And she's been a great addition to the team. So
well, I just like that Mia has now empowered you to spend more time in your strength. That's really
correct.
my biggest
Exactly.
takeaway for both of you guys is now you guys are living both in a zone that allows you to grow the company faster.
Yeah. And what I like to think of with just employees in general, and you could probably pull this away from being at Sherwin-Williams, is when you're able to empower your employees to have the freedom to do what they feel is best. Um, I don't see all things. I'm not all seeing. But what I do have is blinders. I can only see what's in front of me. I have some peripheral vision, but there's blind spots for me. And when you have another person in there to help with assistant work and just administrative things, there's so much more there that can be seen. That's just not my strength, like you said. It's not my strength. So that's why she helps out
And
tremendously.
I
So
think it is a part of the journey too. Sometimes it's tough. Say, for example, say even when you first got started, that this was something that you could financially swing at the time. I don't think it's a part of the whole journey, the whole experience. I talked about this on the show recently with podcasting, and like, I guess we'll use that as an example right here now too. It's the same thing. Like I remember when I first started um, doing this everything, recording, editing, posting, show notes, all that distribution on my own. And I always shout these guys out on the show. We can do it again. Courtney and Catherine, you guys are awesome. Literally, when we're done with the episode here today, Paul, drag it over to Google Drive. Catherine handles all the editing, gets it nice and crispy and clean, shoots it over to Courtney. Courtney does the show notes, the email blast, and we're good. That's what everybody likes to do. To your point, you get everyone doing what their strength is, and yeah, it's that's the trajectory of growth. I think you have to go through the hard times before you make these types of hires too, because then you
yeah,
you appreciate Mia probably a lot more
and
now
you got to
too.
find the things that you're not good at,
That
and then hire someone who is good at it. And just for a point there, we have someone within the Medicare portal team who's actually staff, and she works with automations and in our we use Active Campaign as a CRM for HIPAA compliance purposes.
Good choice.
And
Active
I
campaign is the
worked with
best.
her on a couple of automations that we were looking to send out. And it was funny to watch how excited she got to do some of that stuff. I'm like, yo, I'm so glad that you get joy out of this, because this is not what I want to spend my day doing.
And you living in your creative space is talking, I'm assuming, being a car as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Tell us
Relationships.
a little bit about the joys you get of, why does that get you going more than anything else? The communication piece.
It's natural. So I think that that helps. For example, I think I gravitated towards, I'm going to take it out of the box here for a second. I gravitated towards basketball as a sport. And looking back on it, I don't necessarily think it was because it was the love of my life, but I think it was definitely the sport that I succeeded in the most. And I saw my ability to play that sport as, that was, if athleticism in sports was what I was gathering and trying to decide what am I best at, what are the best chance to be successful at, basketball hit the top of the list for me. So that's what I stuck with. Similarly, talking, I'm actually kind of an introvert. This is more recently discovered, where big crowds, networking kind of stresses me out. It's something that's not super enjoyable from the outside looking in, but then once you're in there working on it, it's, again, I could sit in front of a room, talk to 100 people, and that would not shake me even a bit. But the anticipation of going there, like, man, I gotta go put this face on. But at the end of the day, it's something that still comes naturally. So I got to take that for what it's worth. And when I can work, I found that when I can work with people one on one, that's life giving, because when I work with them one on one, I provide solutions. I help them just like Mia does for me and finds my blind spots. I help all of my clients find their blind spot and things that they're not considering that they need to look at. So yeah,
Yeah, you definitely do, and I think the cool thing about your sector is you're always going to have clients based on the way the system is kind of structured. So I do
yeah,
want to make sure we take some time to talk about this, because I'm sure every single person listening right now knows somebody in their life that is at least 65 years old or older. That is the correct. Yeah. So you're nodding your head there.
yep,
So,
yep.
and you are licensed not only in South Carolina, not only in Ohio, not only Virginia, not only Alabama, but several states. So tell us, first of all, the states that you're licensed in, and then what your message to anyone who knows someone who is, we'll say, 60 or older. So states, and then message to people who know people over
Got it.
60.
Yeah. So everyone get your pens out and just write the two-letter abbreviation for the states that I'm about to mention. It's not crazy. I'm not all over the country. I'm really just like, down, almost down the East Coast. So starting I'm from Ohio. So I have Ohio. My sister went to school in Michigan. I've got some family connections up in Michigan, so I'm licensed in Michigan as well. So you got Ohio, Michigan. Went to school in Pennsylvania. So I have PA. I lived in the DC area, so naturally you do everything DC, Maryland, Virginia. So have those licenses. Then moving down to South Carolina, you got to get the surrounding states. So we went North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Also got Florida, because that is a sunshine state, and the amount of people that move down to Florida and need help finding that. So Florida, Alabama, because that's where Emily's family is currently living, in the Huntsville area. Then I recently got Tennessee as well, because I have a couple clients from a referral source that's sending me to people over there. And then one client, first person I ever met, before I even met with my mentor. I was sitting at a Panera Coffee in Virginia. This lady sat down next to me, and she was about 62, and she would not leave me alone. She just asked me what I was here doing, and told her I was about to start a new career in Medicare. And she's like, well, when I turn 65 in 3 years, you're going to write my policy. And I just looked at her and said, okay. And I had no idea what it was at the time. And so turns out she lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we still have a very good relationship. And I have a supplement policy and a prescription drug plan, and she's a client of mine. So
Shout
it's
out
really
to
funny how that
Panera.
works.
Which
Sorry, it
Panera?
wasn't there. It was Pete's Coffee on Pickett Road. It's Pete's
Okay,
Coffee.
I gotta look that one up. I'm trying to remember. With that,
PEE.
what was it? Fairfax?
Fairfax, right over by is technically right over by there's a Korean barbecue over there. At least there was. Breakers. Trader Joe's was right over there. We lived like 5 minutes away from there at
I'm
one
trying to
point when
remember
we
where
were
the
in
Trader
Fairfax.
Joe's would have been.
So
Oh,
if you're on 236 headed towards Annandale from where we were living, you
yep.
would pass it. It would be on your left.
You go that way. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. So Oklahoma. Well, you know what
yeah.
borders Oklahoma?
Texas.
Texas, big state. A lot of people moving
I know you
there.
got some people in Texas. Yeah, so it's fun because the state by state things that are it's just interesting to have be licensed in all those states and see how the plans are so different. So if by talking to someone across the country, I just wouldn't I would okay, so now we're moving into the what would I say to all of the people who are potentially 65 or know someone that's
Well, I would.
65 here in the
Yeah,
States.
everyone here listening is either over the age of 60 or knows someone who's over the age of 60. So,
Right.
how do they connect them with you, and why would they connect them with you?
So the best way to contact me is going to be through my email, paul@medicareportal.org.
We'll get that
If
in
you
the
get
show
an
notes.
email from care.paul@medicareportal.org, that's Mia, and we both see those emails. So, we'll see him come in and she'll take care of you. We've been religiously living by our calendar in the past like 4 months because that just it with structure and getting your day done appropriately, by operating through a calendar, it just really helps. But anyway, for those who are either turning 65 or those that just know someone who's over 65 and would like some help, Medicare is a national program. It's all throughout the states. If you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident in the United States, you can take advantage of the Medicare program. However, like I just mentioned, regionally or even state by state, these plans and what's offered is different. And so, by trusting someone who's set up in a call center in California, calling you over in New York, is what's required of that state or what's offered in that state is so different. Even thinking Maryland to Virginia, Adam, you know how close those lines are. The plans offered in Maryland are so different than what's offered in Virginia. Don't I mean DC is an entirely separate jurisdiction for Medicare related plans. So, for those that are approaching 65, I highly recommend send me an email because there's also the option of do you stay on your employer group health plan? Do you go for Medicare? What do you do at that point? For the longest time, you select bronze, silver, or gold for an employer plan, or do you want the high deductible with an HSA, or do you want PPO that's going to have the $1,500 deductible on it? I help someone navigate all of that. It doesn't cost them anything. My service does not cost you a penny. You're going to write, it's going to cost you the same dollar amount, whether I write the policy or if you go online and do it yourself. So if you want to go online and do it yourself, by all means, knock yourself out. No skin off of my back. However, I'm a professional at this point. I've been doing this for 4 years. I can look at this stuff for you and it doesn't cost you anything. Why not? Why not use a professional if you can? So,
Right, I agree. It reminds me of when I was mainly a realtor working with rentals. And this is a little fun fact for everyone out there, especially if you see a listing on like Zillow or something. Work with a realtor if you're looking to rent or to lease. They oftentimes will get compensated by the person who is leasing out the unit, and when you are the tenant, you're not paying anything, and you get the free service and someone who actually knows the area.
it's exactly that same concept. So
Yep.
as a broker, I end up, being a wise eye for the person who's trying to navigate this himself for the first time. I did a prescription drug quote today, and there were 21 prescriptions on that quote. There is no way that, okay, I give one of your viewers might be able to do that themselves and actually understand what they're doing. I've been going back and forth with this client for, we've got multiple working hours together at this point. It is confusing stuff. Still for me, I work with them. I see this stuff every day and I get thrown a curveball every once in a while. So for someone, Jimmy off the street who's an accountant, yes, you know your numbers, or even doctors, you know how to be a doctor, but you don't always know how to evaluate what you're going to spend this year on your health insurance because of your current health situation. Like, be a professional where you're a professional. I'm going to be a Medicare insurance professional. And then I guess one more caution flag I would throw in. I've seen a lot of these recently, especially down here in retirement states, being South Carolina is one of those. You see a lot of insurance agents that try to do it all. You see a lot of insurance agents that are going to try and write your life insurance policy. They're going to try and write your ACA policy, which is health insurance for 65, 64 and under. They're going to try and write you, what I say, term, life, whole, whatever. If you see an insurance agent that's writing all these different policies, there's literature and learning and CE that continued education that needs to take place for all of those platforms. There is no way that someone can be a jack of all trade and do all of those insurance plans appropriately in order to service you as the client. I strongly believe that. And so I'm going to stick with Medicare. I only do Medicare. I don't do health. I'm a health insurance agent, but I don't do ACA. I don't do group. I don't do anything in that space. I just do Medicare. And yeah, so there's just a lot going on there. So just be careful that the person very well might be like very skilled. So like, don't tell me, I'm not trying to say that they're uneducated or don't know what they're doing, but it's a lot. I do a lot.
Well,
I
it's
just
I
do Medicare.
bravo to you for niching down and sticking your flag in the ground, because that's how you build trust and attract more of your ideal client, your dream client. And I can attest that, being sophisticated in his sector, Paul does know other folks in the insurance industry, depending on which direction you want to go. He's referred me to people in the past specifically based on what I've asked him for. So I do think that if you want to just think insurance in general, if it's not Medicare, Paul's probably not gonna be able to help you, but more than likely he knows someone who's a specialist in the area that you're looking for. So keep that in
Yeah, I
mind.
pass a lot of insurance specific referrals if someone's asking me questions that are, in that realm. Financial advisors are good for me though. So if you know any financial advisors, that's the one.
That's
That's
funny.
those are my
In our realm, Wall Street and financial advisors are the devil. Not necessarily, not straight up, but sometimes
no,
financial
financial
advisors.
advisors got people retiring, and in most cases, financial advisors cannot talk about health insurance policies. That's pretty non-compliant for, especially for the big firms like Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch. Like they can only point people in a direction; they can't make suggestions. So that's where we really make our money is existing clients, and financial advisors are our number one and two referral sources as we've tracked
Interesting.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Financial advisors, like 40% of our referral sources come
All
from
right.
financial.
Well, there you go. That's like triggering things in my head now too. So I have some friends that are, I do, even though they're the devil, I have some friends that are financial advisors that I'm going to connect you with now. And that would be, look, I want to do this interview for multiple reasons, but also to hopefully trigger some new business for Paul, because I just love everything that he's working on right now. So if you know anyone who's over the age of 60, not are you 65 and listening, like, do you know anyone who's approaching 60? Connect them with Paul. You can say, hey, this is Pally from Dream Chasers. And then if you have any friends that are financial planners or financial advisors, you just said it, make that.
Yeah,
He didn't
please.
say
And
it. I'm
then,
saying it. Introduce Paul to them.
well, we've also been, like I said, pushing people through our Calendly link, and that has been a wonderful way of collecting information and staying in contact. So LinkedIn and Calendly have been like two primary ways of reaching out and staying connected with folks. So I'm going to send you my calendar link as well. Calendly.com/PC Medicare. I'm the only one with that URL. PC Medicare. It's pretty smooth, huh? So Calendly.com/PC Medicare. Schedule a 15-minute call. I'm nice. I have the free version of Zoom, which is fine. So I schedule it for 15, and then at that point, it's a courtesy if we end up taking it 30 minutes. But I have that time booked out for you, and we can have a legitimate conversation about either your business or your current health situation. And I'm very confident that we can find some solution somewhere for you, at the very least, a connection. So,
Wow. There you go. Got the calendar link. I've got some marketing. Your link's going to blow up, and people are really going to want.
fantastic.
People are going to
Sign
want
up.
that link.
And now that the annual enrollment period's over, please populate the link. That's fine. I'll have a 15-minute conversation just to talk about Adam and how I was a better basketball player than him, but he was faster than me on the track. So I can't really. He just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, so I can't really say anything to that. I don't even. I'm kind of still like an outlier there, but respect to where respect is due. The man's in the Hall of Fame. But if you want to just talk shop for 15 minutes and make fun of my brother, I'm totally cool with
That's
that.
always, you'll probably get more
January,
bookings for that one.
yeah, January. Yeah, seriously. Okay, there it is. 15 minutes, and just put in the description you want to talk smack on Adam. We'll go for it.
Book some time with Paul. Um, we're gonna structure, just jump on that link as soon as you can, because um I want to, I'm trying to think of how to word this. add some spiciness to it, where if you're listening to this interview a year from now, you might have to jump through some hoops to get on the phone with Paul. You might not be able to just click and book. All right. This man's time is valuable. So
Absolutely.
act on it now before I put the Hunter Thompson spin on how you can book a call with him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. People really we ran into that this year a good bit. I mean, there was folks who want to just call me out the blue in existing clients, and I felt bad. I let them know I'm like, hey, I need you to schedule some time on my calendar because if you don't, this is our pants on fire time of year. Like from October 15th to December 7th every year, you'll see a ridiculous amount of advertisement around Medicare related things, and so that calendar link really helped out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then that's a good way of tracking emails too. I'm sure you guys got it all set up on the back end with Active Campaign. Which shout out to you guys for using Active Campaign. Probably the best CRM out there, I'd say, for small businesses. I've seen HubSpot be successful as you get to like 100 employees and beyond. But if you're working at the level that Paul's talking about here today and you're not using Active Campaign, sorry, Mailchimp is whack. I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. If you're using Mailchimp, that's cool. Don't get offended now that I just said that. But Active Campaign is where the professionals live. I've just seen it happen over and over again, and that's good to
There's
hear.
some
You
other
guys.
good ones, but Active Campaign's treated us pretty well.
It integrates, to my knowledge, to more apps than any other CRM and email management service that is out there right now.
Mhm.
So free endorsement for Active Campaign. um, so
If we're
and I
doing
was
free endorsements, I do want to throw out there free endorsement for Cordell Capital, Charlie Wessel.
nice.
It's actually he's got a new
Well,
brand.
hold
He's
on.
got a new brand that he's
We're
going
on Zoom
after.
right now, but tell everyone listening on audio what you just did.
Oh, I just flipped for those that are on audio or Spotify or iTunes. I just flipped my hat around. I was wearing a hat backwards through this entire interview in Cordell Capital. Charlie walks in and tosses me a hat. We go to a networking event every Wednesday at noon at a local restaurant, and so he brought in a bunch of hats one day, and I rock this thing all the time. So Charlie's a man.
Yes, Charlie Wessel, Cordell Capital. Look him up. If you Cordell
I think I
Cordell.
think he's got a new business unit out there called the Stock Alternative as well.
Oh, he
I
is
believe
working
that's
on.
what it.
I
I
did
think
see
that's
that.
what the label's called, but don't quote me there.
I think that might be his educational platform. Either way, shout out to Charlie. I'm happy that you guys connected and have hung out a lot. That really warms my heart. Now you picked up a hobby recently, and then we're gonna wrap this up. I want you to shed like a 2 minute story on it. You got into surfing once you moved to Charleston. If you had to summarize your biggest lesson learned from surfing and what you enjoy the most about it, what would those two things be?
One is athleticism doesn't always translate to whatever sport you're getting into because there is nothing more defeating than just getting whapped by waves like time and time again. It's just not. It can come to you naturally, but guess what? It didn't come to me naturally, and that's one of the firsts. That doesn't happen too often. So that was kind of fun. And then what was the second part of that question?
So basically, biggest lesson learned, which is athleticism doesn't
Biggest lesson
necessarily
learned is
transfer.
that
And
you're
what do you
not as
enjoy the
good as
most
you
about
think
it?
you are. Yeah. Stay humble because that ocean doesn't play nice. You either go with it or it's taking you.
What's the I guess what's the I've heard you kind of get like a surfer's high. So is that what's most enjoyable about it, or what is it?
I would say the most enjoyable part is when you do catch a wave and it's like it's pretty sweet. It is pretty sweet. However, I heard something the other day of they found like a 9 foot shark like on the coast. So I kind of like my legs. My idea is to keep them. And if I lose them doing something like surfing when I have other ways to express leisure or experience leisure activities, then surfing might not be top of that list. But we didn't grow up with sharks in Lake Erie. We had perch and walleye.
That's true. Not really any waves either, but I that's always been my what I've hesitated with about surfing. However, I was listening to the lead singer of Red Hot Chili Peppers on Rogan's show talking about how I think there's more deaths of like, people getting killed by grizzly bears and wild hunting. Like the amount of actual deaths by shark last year in the US was like 4, where you'll
Yeah.
have like, other extreme sports. There's the death
They didn't
counts are
tell you how many
actually
people got maimed though.
That is true. But I would say, look, it is fun. It was a little bit mind blowing to me to see. In my head, I feel like it's happening all the time. It's
Well,
actually
the thing is, sharks don't want to eat humans. They'll
right.
they'll attack, they'll bite and rip, and then realize you're not what they want. But guess what? They got my arm in their mouth, so I'm not at that point. At that point, I lost. I might not have lost my life, but I still did not come out the victor. I don't think I want to do
All right. So Paul's partially stepping into surfing retirement on this interview.
that. We have 3 surfboards. Whenever we got people who come in town, they haven't surfed before, we go. It's a lot of fun. We'll probably get it. We got 2 foam boards, which are super easy to ride, and you better believe I'm always the one riding it. And then we have one that's more of like a legitimate surfboard. It's a Ricky Carroll board. So we have fun with it.
Nice. Okay. People can book Courtney. I trust that you picked up that link that Paul shared in the earlier.
Calendly.com/PC Medicare. Super easy.
There it is. We'll make that the call to action, folks. Book a call with Paul. Keep in mind, if you know
15
anyone,
minutes.
over the age of we'll say over the age of 59, or a financial planner, send them this interview as well. And yeah, smash the heck out of that booking link with Paul, because as I mentioned, we're going to put a spin on it where you got to actually work a little bit harder to get some time with him, because he's the man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Words of wisdom to our listeners.
God is good. Just take your time. Serve the person in front of you. Don't work for the dollar.
Amen. Great way to end it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dream Chasers Adventures in the Future. We recently switched it up. It was Interviews with the Future, but we're doing more adventures now. Thank you for tuning in.
I will say, for those, and this will maybe be an encouragement and a plug for Adam's show, for those that would like to take a look at the final 10 to 30 seconds of this video, Cusco, my dog, is in my lap. And for those on Spotify, you're really missing out because he's super cute. And got a little puppy in here. So if you get a chance to tune in and check the video out, which I know you are going to have to click on YouTube or whatever platform the video is going to be on, and see my cute little puppy, it's right here.
Right here at the end. And who knows, maybe Cusco will be on one of those Zoom calls.
Oh, he definitely will. He's pretty much always at my feet now whenever I'm doing something.
Nice.
The boy.
I gotta say, I remember when Paul didn't want a dog, and to see how much he's bonded with Cusco is mind-blowing.
Oh, I still don't want a dog. but here I have a dog in my lap. So, we're just gonna make the best of what we got. He's awesome. No, I love dogs. No, again, I said earlier, no rush. There's no rush to do just about anything in this life. Someone's telling you gotta hurry, you might want to tell them, might want to check them, So, but anyway, no rush. We ended up getting a dog because just the time was right.
Love it. Dream Chasers, take it to the next level.